Welcome to dr.mom.com.
Hey, so today the third social message myth that I want to talk about overlaps with this not good enough that we talked about in my previous episode. But it's so important, I think, that it needs its own category and it needs to be tossed out of 2019. It's this: I have to fit in to feel good about myself. It's something like, if I don't fit in, I don't belong. If I don't belong, there must be something wrong with me. I'm deficient in some way. There's not a place for me here in this world, or here in this place, or wherever you're applying that concept to. This one hits home hard for me personally, but also for so many other people that I know professionally, personally. For a long time, I struggled to find words with how to explain my experience of being different or other, or just not belonging, not fitting in a way that would help me and others understand why I didn't feel like I fit in anywhere. Anywhere I went, I just didn't feel it. A good book to read, which I listened to in audio form, is Brene Brown's. It's called Braving the Wilderness. I highly recommend it, and she talks a little bit about the. Oh, she talks a lot about this, and she reinforced to me how important it was for me to share this conversation and content with others. Yalom also, who has written lots of books, talks about how many people really struggle with this sense of inadequacy and kind of faking it till they make it, not feeling like they fit in. And so I now know that this is not an individual experience that only I have gone through as a child and as a teen. I wish I would have known that it wasn't just me when I was a child, when I was a teen. And so that's part of why I think this is such an important conversation to have. By nature, we all desire some sense of belonging and purpose, and we often assume that to belong means to fit in or to be like some other existing group or entity so that we can feel accepted, we can be wanted as part of that group. But fitting in and belonging aren't the same. I did not know that growing up. And so many people I talk to this day, they don't know that either. Belonging is about acknowledging who and how you are as your own individually crafted person with your core values as your guiding compass. And you courageously own it and you rock it. And even when others disagree or don't get you, it's still you. That's where you are. That's who you are. Because who, what, and how you are belongs in this world, in this form, at this time, with all your gifts and challenges. But fitting in is different. Fitting in is when you wind up suppressing parts of yourself so you can push into someone or something else's version of who, what, or how you should be in this world. And if you take the peg and a square analogy, you think of it as you're trying to fit the peg into the square and it's not working. Or you're trying to fit the square into the circle hole, whichever one, it's not working, it's not aligning. You can't get it in because you're trying to fit one thing into something else that it's not. Whereas belonging is recognizing that there is this block with different shapes. And then there are these different shapes, and they all belong as part of it. You're not pushing one part into a different part that doesn't fit. They just all belong there. It might feel lonelier sometimes when you are choosing to live congruent with your own core values, being this own piece that you belong to the set, but you don't fit in a hole. But you have to show yourself some compassion, because even when you own it, that you are this piece, that you belong as your own self, you're going to still mess up. There's times when you are going to slip. You're going to do something that's not congruent with your core values, but you have to honor that imperfection of yourself, that human component. It's what makes you uniquely you, by honoring all of these parts and giving yourself, showing yourself compassion when something just doesn't go in line with how you'd like to live and lead your life. But when you shift from belonging, from being inward with yourself and recognizing that regardless of where you are in this world, you belong in this world because of who and how you are and your core values, and not about where you're trying to push yourself or fit yourself into some other pre-existing thing. When you make that shift, you can start to realize that there's not something wrong with you. When you focus on the fitting in, you feel like there's something wrong with you because you're trying to push yourself into a place where it wasn't meant for you to fit into. Not for you not to belong, because you belong. But you're not meant to be pushed into this thing. And when you shift, you make that perspective change, you realize there's nothing wrong with you. You're human, working through this journey of life, learning every day, growing every day, just like every other person. You don't need to fit in to some kind of pre-constructed mold. I say this from experience. I certainly tried the fitting in thing for a long time. I honestly bought into the fit in to feel good social message myth my entire childhood, adolescence, and into my 20s. I believed I didn't belong because I wasn't part of these other groups that I saw people be part of. And I tried living consistently with my values to fit in, and I tried living outside of my values, pushing that side. Maybe there's something wrong with my values to fit in. And I always wound up feeling like I didn't belong because I equated belonging with fitting into these external molds and categories that weren't for me. I had to learn that the hard way a lot of times, that wasn't the way to lead a life of quality. I remember when I was younger being told that I was either too, well spoken to be black, or I was too this or too that to, be white or whatever. I received a whole bunch of different messages about why I didn't fit into those categories. Um, and I remember distinctly this one time, I actually did value education, and I was a pretty good, gifted student. And I decided that because I wasn't black enough or white enough, since I was hearing messages that I needed, I was smart, and so since I was smart, I couldn't. I must think I'm too good to be black. That's the messages I was given. Um, and so I decided for a little bit of time that I would stop being smart and I would stop trying and I wouldn't do well. And that didn't go well. And what wound up happening was my grades did go down and I felt like crap. And I still was in the same place. I didn't fit in, and now I wasn't living in line with my values, and I felt like crap. And I could say a whole bunch of different experiences that I have had about trying to fit in with weight, with race, with gender norms, with all of these different things. Um, and those experiences were chronic throughout my entire life. And I see that with so many people that I talk to of all ages now, in particular teens that really struggle with that. And that's why this social message myth is so damaging. It leaves people feeling inadequate, unworthy, undeserving, and it needs to be tossed because it's not just damaging, but it's not true. You don't need to fit in to feel good about yourself. You feel good when you stop trying to fit in and you find your sense of belonging internally. Because when that happens, I know it sounds cliche, but when that happens, your mind shifts, your perspective shifts, and you start to focus on things that matter to you. Not to society, not to these other groups or pre-constructed categories, but to you, genuinely to you. And you start to lead a life that is quality, that is fulfilling. And suddenly, trying to fit into this peg or square hole that's so painful and uncomfortable to force yourself into isn't even appealing anymore. And it's a process and it's hard because we want to connect. But when we belong within to ourselves, we can connect with others more authentically because we're able to connect with ourselves more authentically. And we'll be able to talk about this. It's so important in so many future episodes. We'll be touching on it throughout. But this is absolutely a social message myth that we need to toss before 2019. And if you bring it with you in 2019, I hope you listen to this and you just decide to toss this out because it is incredibly harmful to yourself. Remember, our culture thrives off of us not feeling good enough in our own skin, trying to fit in to this or that. People make money off of selling various products. They market these products as necessities to help us feel like we fit in. And this type of fitting in, it might have temporary moments of feeling good. Don't get me wrong. And that's why it's easy to get addicted to those little moments of feeling good. And you keep trying to do it to just keep restoring these little moments of feeling good, and they need more and more, right? But they aren't long lasting because they can't be. It's not about being true to you or who you're meant to be or what your core values are. And so it's this external source that's defining those things for you. And that just can't be congruent with your authentic self, the person that you are within, that you're meant to be, that the world would benefit from knowing and from experiencing and engaging with. So if you choose one social message myth from my mini series to toss, I hope it's this one. I hope that you toss this out, or at the very least raise awareness within yourself about it so that you can stop trying to fit in to feel good about yourself and feel good about yourself, because you don't need to fit in. You just get to be you and you still get to belong. So thanks for joining me today. I appreciate your time, and happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, anything that is celebrated. I hope that you enjoy the end of 2018, and I hope that you go into 2019 knowing that who you are belongs in this world, how you are, and you'll continue to grow, and that's what we're meant to be. So don't strive for perfection. Practice makes better. There's no such thing as perfect. See you later.
Thanks for tuning in.
Until next time.
Bye.
dr.mom.com does not constitute a client-patient relationship and claims no clinical responsibility for any information presented on this channel. Please seek out a therapist in your area if you would like to pursue individual clinical support.